Good.
So now it's recorded. So I am Angela Dennis, and I am your college and career coordinator. So I help kids with everything post high school. So job searching, college searching, if they're interested in military. I can help them with resumes, all kinds of stuff like that. So they can sign up to come see me. I do have to leave a little bit early tonight to go to my daughter's open house. So my email is on here and also my phone number. So if you guys have any questions for me, please feel free to contact me. And then we have Lori Noggle.
Hello, everybody. Thanks for coming.
And she is our school counselor. And then Miss Mona Stifler, and she is our academic counselor.
Hi, everybody.
Sorry, I'm just answering something in the chat. Okay.
So our goal for this evening is to just talk to you guys about particularly financial aid, which does happen to open tomorrow, which is October 1st. You don't have to apply by tomorrow, but if you are ready to, we're going to give you some information to be able to do that. So students, parents and guardians will help you know how to start the financial aid process. Students, parents, and guardians will have a better understanding of the overall process, and everyone will have a clear understanding of what to plan for the coming months. The next couple months, it's always a hard time of the year because you're just starting your senior year, and then we start to throw all kinds of stuff at you to talk about your post-high school goals and your plans, but that's kind of what happens this time of year. Financial aid happens, college applications happen, and it comes on pretty quickly, but we want to help get you through that process and spread that out and not overwhelm you. So I run Crestwell High School's College and Career Center, which is inside the library. So it's a little room off the library. I'm also the librarian, so I'm in the library all the time. But then I also do the College and Career Center. So as you come in the library, you can always let me know you have college and career questions, and I can help you with that. So here is my email again, my direct line in the library. I do have a remind set up. So if you want any kind of reminders, I send those out when we have field trips set up. We had a great field trip set up for October 5th to the college fair at U of O. Unfortunately, it got canceled. There were too many schools that still can't transport students. So the fair decided to cancel. But if you sign up for Remind, you'll get all those reminders. And then also, so there's a website there at the top. It is the College and Career Site's website. And on there, there's tons of information, how to get to FAFSA on there. And then also a spreadsheet that I keep updated with all kinds of scholarships for students. And what that is, it's broken down into 3 sections: local scholarships, Oregon scholarships, and national scholarships. Then they're all in date order. So you can kind of start at the top. Those are going to be the scholarships that are coming up due soon, and then just kind of scroll down as you have time for scholarships that you can apply for. So some other great resources. Definitely one thing that we did get out of this pandemic is so many things that you can access virtually. So sometimes, you know, you may want to tour a college that you just can't get to, and they have set up amazing virtual tours that you actually are like touring the college with an advisor, but it's virtual instead of you're actually having to fly somewhere and do it. The SAIL program, which is run by the University of Oregon, has also come out with some amazing resources to be able to reach more students. So they also are having a financial aid night on November 1st at 6:30. They will have people that can help you fill out your financial aid. And then they also will have, I don't know if you guys have heard of the Ford Family Scholarship, Ford Family Foundation Scholarship. It is an amazing scholarship for anybody in Oregon that are seniors. It is financially based income or financial income based, but they cover 80% of tuition for wherever you want to go to school for 4 years. So if you can get that scholarship, it's amazing. And they will actually have somebody from that foundation speaking at that financial aid night. Then there's the NACAC, which is National Association of College Admissions for Counselors, and they are hosting virtual college fair. So unlike the one that we were going to go to where we were there in person, it's a virtual college fair that colleges nationwide, they all attend. So if there's a certain college that you're interested in, there would be advisors there that you could actually speak to about those colleges. They also have our local scholar or local universities that will be part of that, that you can also talk to, that will be virtually. Elevate Lane County is also an organization in Eugene. They do all kinds of things like industry tours. So if you're interested in a certain field of work, you can do, we have field trips where we actually go and see those industries. Right now, a lot of those are again virtual. Some have opened up for actual tours again, but a lot of those are still virtual. They also offer like some job postings where you can actually do jobs and get paid. And then they also can help set up job shadows. So we are doing senior projects again. So students will need to get some job shadowing hours in. And this is a great resource to be able to connect with them. So you can tell them what field you're interested in, and then they can help connect you with somebody to do your job shadow. You do have to go onto their website and register for that, but that information is there. And then another one is Oregon Goes to College, and we do a lot of this during college application week. So there is a week in November that we work with all of the seniors, and we do it at school during the school day. And we do stuff like help them apply for college. We are going to help them fill out financial aid. We do some stuff with CIS. And it's just like a week that we just kind of help them through all these steps that they need to do. And then we try to make it fun. We do some fun stuff within there and some scavenger hunts and games and stuff like that. So, but there's also resources there that you can access beyond what we do during college application week. So something new that I am going to do this year is actually hold some nights that will be Zoom like this, but it will be that you can actually start filling out your FAFSA with your student. And then if you have actual questions, you can log on during these nights. It's going to be Thursday, October 14th, Thursday, November 4th, or Tuesday, December 13th. All the sessions will be at 6. Each Monday of that week, I'll send out the Zoom link to all senior parents. And so you can log on there, and then I will be there, and we can go into like a private room. You can ask me questions, you can screen share. I'll be able to help you fill out all those blanks if you have questions or if you're stuck doing something. It'll be a little bit more one-on-one help getting that filled out. So what does college mean when we say college? College doesn't necessarily mean you're going to college. It could be a university, a community college. Especially right now, our trade industries are desperate for people. So you might be going into a trade industry where you'll be doing more apprenticeships, or you could be going into the military. There's also, National Guard, where you're doing that and doing community college or university and getting school paid for. So when we say college, we're not just talking about universities. It's just kind of a whole of all of those things that we kind of lump together.
Hey everyone, I'm Miss Stifler. So I'm going to talk about just questions, like trying to just narrow down your college search. Like you don't know where you want to go, you don't know what you want to do. That's okay. So just to kind of narrow that down, if you can think about, well, what kind of degree or program, maybe you know you want to go into the medical field, but you're not sure what you want to do in the medical field. Those are things that you can think about, and we have some resources that you can do some research on those specific programs, because not every college has every specific program that you might want to do. So that's why it's good to do some research. The location is key too. Where the school is actually at. Is it out of state? Is it close to home? If you have a kiddo that, doesn't want to leave home, it might be better to do something closer to home. And then the size of the school too really depends. If you're coming from Crestwell, a really small school, sometimes kids get overwhelmed by going to the U of O because it's so big. And so they want to start smaller for the first couple of years. And then maybe the culture of the school. And then ultimately, is it affordable? And I can tell you, if the colleges that you want to go to are doing campus tours, I don't know how many of them are this year, but if they are, you should get on the campus that your kiddo is interested in going to, because I can tell you, with my oldest daughter, she was set that she was going to go to Portland State, and we did a campus tour, and we got halfway through the tour and she was like, nope, let's leave. I can't go to school here. So it is really, really, really important that if you can get on those campuses, that's really nice. That could also be a deciding factor for you. And so CIS, I know Miss Dennis talked about that a little bit ago. So CIS it's Oregon CIS. All of you have accounts. And we put your username there. If you just Google Oregon CIS, it should be the very first thing that pops up, and you'll get a login. And for all of you, it's your first name, last name, grad year. And we've given you an example there. And then your password is your last name, grad year. And you can go in there and you can, click on, like, if I know I want to go in the medical field, I can click on that and it will list a whole bunch of occupations that might be related to the medical field. And then you can see what Oregon schools have that particular program, what US schools have that particular program. You can get the college financial stuff in there. And there's also a financial aid sort in there. There's scholarships in there. There's so much information in that CIS account. So if you haven't checked it out, or your student hasn't shown it to you, get in there and play around in there. Okay, can you click that next slide, Miss Noggle? Okay, cool. And again, don't eliminate any college or program based on its tuition. Like, don't go, oh, that school's way too expensive, I can't go there. Wait until you get all of the cost from the college, because most students will qualify for some sort of financial aid, whether that be scholarships through the school or other financial aid. So wait until you get a net cost from that school before you say no to them. So keep that in mind. And then again, as Ms. Dennis said before, FAFSA opens October 1st, which is tomorrow. And so if you've already got your login information, which Ms. Noggle will talk about here shortly, you can get in there and start filling that in as early as tomorrow. Don't wait until the first of the year. Try to make that your Christmas gift to yourself. Get your FAFSA done. Miss Noggle's gonna do the next slide. There we go. So when you're thinking about financial aid, so I know some of you have heard some of these terms, but so you can think of it as three different baskets, if you will. So we're talking about scholarships and grants are the things that we all want because we don't have to pay them back. So any scholarships or grants that you can get is what you want because, again, those you never have to pay back. And then there's also a thing called work study. And this is all this information that we're talking about is based on that FAFSA that we just talked about. So that's why it's so important to fill that out because you won't know if you qualify for any of these things until you do that. And then there's another one called work study. And so work study is simply what it is. It's work. You decide that you are going to work on campus and that paycheck goes towards your tuition. So that's a pretty cool deal as well. And then the last resort that we want to do, which some of us, most of us have to resort to, are student and or parent loans from either the school or from the federal government. A couple of things about those that I always warn kids about and to keep in mind is when you get your financial aid letter from whichever college that you're going to go to, they love to loan you money, right? Because you're going to pay interest on it and they're going to make money. So they'll loan you just about as much money as you could ever imagine. But you're going to see two terms. You're going to see subsidized and unsubsidized loans. You want to try, if you can, to stay away from the unsubsidized loans. And here's the difference. An unsubsidized loan, the interest on that loan starts as soon as you sign on the dotted line. So if you're a freshman, your interest for that loan starts your freshman year. And if it takes you hopefully 4 years to get through college, you're paying interest that whole entire time and the whole entire time until you get that paid off. So unsubsidized means interest starts right when you sign on the dotted line. Subsidized means that the interest does not start as long as you are in school. So as long as you're in school, you don't have to pay the interest. The interest does not start until you are out of school. So if you have a choice between the two, always do the subsidized. Always do that one if you have a choice. And so obviously now it is, okay, where do I start with this thing that you called the FAFSA, the free application for federal student aid? What does that look like? So Ms. Noggle is going to play a video now that's going to give you kind of a little overview of what that is.
Miss Noggle, we don't have sound.
Study funds, all of which are easy to apply for. And when it is time to apply for aid, head to your favorite spot to complete the free application for federal student aid, or FAFSA. Each October, a new FAFSA is available for the next school year, and completing it is free when you go to the official website, fafsa.gov. Your selected colleges will use the information on your FAFSA to figure out how much aid you'll get, so make sure your info is accurate. But if you need to, you can go back and make some changes. If you get a grant or work-study job, congrats, you won't have to pay the money back. However, a federal loan is borrowed money, and you'll need to promise to repay it. Remember to borrow only what you need because a federal student loan is a real loan. Just like with a car or home loan, it's important that you understand what you're agreeing to. Although college, financial aid, and the prospect of an instant noodle diet can be a little overwhelming, you'll be putting yourself on the path to success when you take the time to plan out your options and let the Office of Federal Student Aid help you along the way. If you have questions or need more information, please visit studentaid.gov.
Were you doing this slide, Ms. Stifler, or is this where I pick up? You're muted.
You're picking up.
Okay. So hi, good evening, everybody. So they mentioned, and again, we're going to have more information obviously to share with you guys, but the main thing, is to recognize that you're not obligated just by completing this process. And so, like Ms. Stifler mentioned, going through the process, getting the information. We obviously encourage everybody to complete it for a variety of reasons. But, just recognize that by, submitting to FAFSA, you're not obligated to anything. It is a process that you probably won't get information back until the end of March, early April, before all of the schools process that. So, again, we really want to encourage you to, go for those dream schools that you have as far as, again, just seeing what happens. Because a lot of private schools, they may have grants and programs that can make it just as affordable to go to a small private school as what it would be to go to a public school. And so, the other thing too, in relation to that piece that Mrs. Stifler mentioned about the subsidized loans, that's why we really want to encourage you guys to submit it in October and have that goal of trying to get it done, because those are the things that do end up getting, taken up with the earlier application. So if you wait and you delay, then you might not get the same opportunities if you get it in on time. So, and then a lot of times students, as far as the truth versus myths, everyone is going to be eligible for something. It may just not be that you get the grants or those kinds of things like Ms. Stifler mentioned, but you definitely should be able to get some things. You don't have to have your taxes done. They will be using your 2020 information, but there's, again, that shouldn't delay you. The whole part about, oh, it's too hard. It's really, they've done a lot again to try and streamline it. And that's why Angela will have those follow-up sessions available for you guys to get more one-on-one help. And so please don't hesitate to reach out to us. And then again, the whole part about like my grades aren't good enough. There are going to be, like, the Oregon Promise Grant does have a GPA connected to it, but there are other grants out there or again with the subsidized loans where it's not dependent upon your GPA. So we really, really want to encourage you guys to, again, like, reach for those high goals, get the information, and see what happens. But it does take time. That's the other thing, because it's kind of hard to wait until April, but it'll go really, really fast. So
I'm just gonna
go
add
ahead.
something really fast.
Mhm.
So it's good to fill out too, even if you don't think you're gonna go to college.
Mhm.
Like, say you think you want to go into the military.
Mhm.
And so we hear that a lot, like, I'm gonna go in the military, I don't need it. Well, as we've all learned, you never know what's going to happen in the world. You could be playing a sport and get injured, and then you unfortunately can't go into the military, or it pushes it off. So it's nice, since it is free to fill out FAFSA, is just go ahead and fill it out, and then you have that as a backup plan.
Well, and I would say the same thing even in relation to, your family circumstances. That's another moving piece that you don't know. And obviously a lot of us have had a lot of unpredictable things have happened in the last couple of years. And so keeping that door open, and that way if something changes for your family, you already are in line and can have those conversations with the schools that you're going to go to, and you can that way you can work with them to kind of let them know if something's changed for your family. Okay, so we're going to kind of get going as far as like what are my next steps and what I need to be doing. So we've got hopefully I'm sharing with the sound again.
The free application for federal student aid,
here.
or FAFSA, is the application for grants, loans, and work-study funds provided by the federal government. It is also used by many states and schools for their financial aid programs. For the fastest and easiest way to apply, visit our official website, fafsa.gov. The FAFSA is available in English and Spanish. As you fill it out online, you'll be able to automatically skip questions that don't pertain to you, check out your status immediately, and get online help. It takes most people less than 30 minutes to complete the application. You'll need a few things when you fill it out, so get ready by gathering your Social Security number, your permanent resident card if you have one, any W-2 forms or records of money you earned for the previous year, and your tax records. By the way, a nice time-saving feature of the FAFSA is that many people are eligible to automatically transfer their tax data from the IRS into the FAFSA, so keep an eye out while you're applying in case you're offered that option. If you have any questions about what information to gather, there is a complete list of documents that you will need at fafsa.gov. Before you begin the process of filling out the FAFSA, you should create a username and password called an FSA ID that will act as your electronic signature. You'll only need to create an FSA ID once, and you can use it to renew your FAFSA each year that you apply. Your parents will need an FSA ID too if they have to provide any information. So now you're ready to begin filling out the FAFSA to apply for financial aid. There are 3 groups of questions that include personal information, such as your name, address, and marital status, financial information, such as your income, and any parent information that is required. If you get hung up or confused about a question, the Help and Hints box on the right-hand side of the application can help with each question as you move along. Also, look for the online chat feature under Help if you would like assistance from a knowledgeable agent. Because colleges and career schools use the FAFSA to provide financial aid, you can list up to 10 schools that you are interested in attending. You should list all of the schools that you are considering, even if you haven't been accepted or applied yet. If you have more than 10 schools in mind, you can submit your FAFSA with 10 schools and then replace some of those schools with other schools later. When you finish filling out the FAFSA, use your FSA ID to sign the form. If you are required to submit parent information on your FAFSA, a parent will need to sign the application with his or her own FSA ID as well. If you have any questions or need more information, please visit studentaid.gov.
No.
The free application for federal student aid, or FAFSA, is the app.
Okay, so that was a lot in a very short little video. And so as far as, again, step 1, and, that as far as kind of like having a small goal, if you guys have time to do that this evening after the meeting, I would say go for it and get it done. Or, over the weekend, as far as, like I said, a short-term goal. So, they call it FSA ID, also known as your username and password. And so, again, each student individually has to set up their FSA ID. And again, this is where we remind parents that this is theirs, and it technically, legally is supposed to be the student that is setting this up. And so, it has the usual thing as far as what you have to do, like how many characters and, capital, lowercase, that kind of thing. So that's your starting place, is getting that set up. If you're a parent and you have older children who have already gone through college or are in college, you can use the same FSA ID. If this is your first senior, and then you will need to be creating one as well. Again, as far as, keeping track of those things, I know we live in that kind of username and password world, but for you students, again, having a secure place, using the notes app in your phone, having some kind of a system where you're going to start keeping track of those username and passwords, because you will also have one for the schools that you're applying to. So you're going to have your student aid username. If you're applying to LCC, U of O, Idaho State, whatever it might be. And so you need your social security number and your, if you have a mobile phone, that and your email address. And again, do not use your school email. Make sure that you're using a Gmail or a Yahoo or something separate, because again, you are going to be graduating, you're going to be moving on, and they need to have a way to be able to communicate with you after graduation. So, so like I said, that would be a small goal that I would encourage you guys to do that. I know they also have, like you'll set up security questions. There's like 4 security questions that you'll set up. I just want to mention to parents out there, as far as, and students, like everybody really needs to be patient with each other this year. There's a lot that happens during the senior year. There's deadlines that can add stress. There's, you know, a lot of pieces that are layered in on top of all the other things that you're doing, whether it's school activities or working, managing your classes, keeping up with homework. So, you know, really just want to encourage you guys to be patient with each other. And, you know, seniors, students out there, you really need to be patient with your parents too. They're really, really trying to support you and just make sure that things are in place for you to be able to move on. All 3 of us have kids currently in college, and then Miss Stifler and I both have seniors as well. So we really do love the class of 2022. We are really, we are very committed to this year's seniors. So please don't hesitate to let us know how we can be helping you guys throughout the whole year, not just with financial aid, but with anything. As far as the financial aid website and the FAFSA.gov website, they have a lot of great information there too. So we just wanted to mention that, as far as it's not just where you go to apply for financial aid. It really is about, you know, post high school planning and education. So there's a lot of great information there. And, you know, they obviously mentioned the things that you can use while you're filling out the FAFSA, like the chat and that kind of thing. But, you know, one of the nice things about the 1-800-4FED-AID help, you know, toll-free number is that you do get an actual live person. And so that's another great resource that's available. And then obviously reaching out to us and reaching out to Angela for sure. Just to kind of mention things to be keeping track of, again, make sure that you are on the .gov website. Your application should be free. There are some websites that are out there that, you know, may offer to complete the financial aid process for you in the application, but there is really, really no reason to do that. There is free support in a variety of ways, whether it's with us or, you know, the school that you're planning to apply to, that kind of thing. Making sure that the student's information is in on the student section. So that can be a glitch sometimes where the parent actually accidentally puts the information, their information on the student section, that kind of thing. When you do get to the FAFSA website, making sure that you're applying, because the application for this current school year is still available, and you can always apply later, but you just want to make sure you're obviously picking the right school year and for the 2022-23 school year. We've already mentioned filing as close to October 1st as you can. So like I said, getting the ball rolling and working on getting that done here in the next couple of weeks. You do want to use your 2020 tax information. And like the video mentioned, there is the option where when you're filling it out, you can say, yes, I want to use the IRS data retrieval tool. And it just helps expedite the whole process very quickly because it's going to fill in a bunch of the information that they're going to be requesting. So In relation to work study, that's going to be like one of the questions is just a yes or no. Do you want to be considered for work study? And everybody should say yes to that. It's a great opportunity. If you can get one of those jobs on campus, it really gives you a lot of other benefits as far as just kind of getting connected to the campus community. They obviously are very understanding of, students' works or school schedule and help you kind of work around those kinds of things. And there's really a wide variety of jobs that you might be able to get connected with. And so, so definitely say yes to that and see what happens. Young men are expected to register with the selective service to be eligible for financial aid. And again, this is a part of the process that can help you, if that comes along with that question, it'll say, have you registered and do you want us to register you? And that is a piece that I know has changed for this year. So I'll be honest, I haven't looked at that entirely. But again, if you have any questions about that part of things, let us know. Okay, so there's a question that comes up often, because again, different things happen where students are living with maybe different family members or different circumstances are going on for them. And so this just is a short video that kind of talks about, when and why do I have to report my parents' information. And so again, those FAFSA completion workshops that Angela's having and or reaching out to us and the financial aid, usually like LCC, for example, like once you've decided where you're going to go and you want to kind of talk with somebody about what your situation is, those are the folks who are going to determine whether or not you're truly dependent versus independent. And so I'm going to go ahead and play this.
When you fill out the FAFSA, you'll be asked several questions that will determine whether you are an independent or dependent student. This is an important distinction, because if you're a dependent student, then you'll need to include your parents' financial information on your FAFSA. This means that your parents' financial information will be considered along with your information to determine your eligibility for federal student aid. So how do you figure out if you're an independent or dependent student? Generally, if you are a graduate student, on active duty in the U.S. Armed Forces, a veteran, are married, have children whom you support, or are 24 or older, then you are considered an independent student. If you don't meet any of these criteria, then you're likely considered a dependent student and will have to provide your parents' financial information when completing the FAFSA. If you have a different living situation, including divorced parents or living under the care of a grandparent or other relative, the online FAFSA will provide guidance to help you answer the parent questions. In other special circumstances, your status may not be as easy to determine, and you'll need guidance from the financial aid office at the college or career school you plan to attend. Some common questions that people often ask are, what if the FAFSA tells me I'm a dependent student, but my parents don't claim me on their taxes, or I've moved out of their house and am financially independent? While these situations do arise, they aren't part of the criteria for independent status on the FAFSA. So you would still be required to report your parents' financial information on the FAFSA. What if I'm considered a dependent student but have no contact with my parents or access to their information? There are other options available to you in these situations, so it is possible for a dependent student to submit the FAFSA without parental information. If you have indicated on your FAFSA that you cannot contact your parents or access their financial information, you'll need to speak to staff at the financial aid office at the college or career school you plan to attend. The financial aid staff will tell you what to do next. So what if my parents aren't going to help me pay for college and refuse to provide information from my FAFSA? If this is the case, the only federal aid you may be able to receive will be an unsubsidized loan, which is a federal student loan that begins accruing interest as soon as you receive your funds. To find out whether you can get the loan, fill out your FAFSA and then speak to the financial aid staff at the college or career school that you wish to attend. If you have any other questions regarding financial aid, your college or career school will be able to answer them for you, and, if appropriate, make a decision about your dependency status. Their decision is final and cannot be appealed to the U.S. Department of Education. No matter your dependency status, make sure to complete the FAFSA to find out what federal money you can get for college or career school. If you have questions or need more information, please visit studentaid.gov.
Okay, so that, again, just kind of reiterating, once you've submitted your FAFSA, accessing the folks at the school that you plan to go to is going to be your best bet as far as talking through those different situations or talking through what is kind of more specific to you individually. So, again, it's kind of like, okay, I've got this big application, this big important thing. What do I need to expect afterwards? So we've got another short video that we wanted to share.
So, you filled out the FAFSA. Now what? The information you submitted will be processed by the U.S. Department of Education's Office of Federal Student Aid, and the colleges or career schools you listed will be notified so they can begin their process of awarding aid. The great thing about filling out the FAFSA online is that you can check its processing status immediately. This comes in handy when you're thinking, I wonder if it went through. Within a few days of filling out the FAFSA, you'll get your Student Aid Report, or SAR. You'll hear that abbreviation again, so just remember, your SAR is your Student Aid Report. Basically, it summarizes all of the information you submitted on the FAFSA. You can access your SAR online at fafsa.gov using your FSA ID, which is your username and password. Check your SAR for any mistakes. Then make corrections if you need to, but only if you estimated your tax information or provided incorrect information the day you filled out the FAFSA. On your SAR, you'll see reference to your EFC, or expected family contribution. This number is used to determine your eligibility for federal student aid. It doesn't mean you actually have to contribute that amount. The financial aid office at each college or career school you list on your FAFSA will receive your information. Each office will then use your FAFSA information to determine how much aid you can get at that school. It's possible that your college or career school may require you to verify the information you submitted on your FAFSA. If that happens, your school will tell you what you need to do. Once you're accepted into a college or career school, you'll get an award letter from a school's financial aid office that explains the aid being offered to you. We'd recommend comparing award letters from multiple schools. That way you can make the best decision for your situation. If you have any questions about your financial aid offer, contact the school's financial aid office. If your aid offer includes a federal loan and you're a first-time borrower, there are a few more steps before you get your loan. You'll need to complete entrance counseling and sign the Master Promissory Note, or MPN, which is your agreement to pay back the loan. Your school will provide you with the necessary information. So how do you get your money? Well, usually your grants and loans will be applied to tuition, fees, and other charges on your student account first. Then any leftover money is paid to you. Work-study funds are earned throughout the term. Remember, filling out the FAFSA is not a one-time thing. You must complete it every year you attend school. If you have questions or need more information, please visit studentaid.gov.
So you'll notice a theme. If you have any questions, contact blank, so again, it can be us, it can be the school that you plan to attend. They're throwing out a lot of acronyms and those kinds of things, and that stuff that'll become familiar to you. So any of those kinds of things, you can go to that FAFSA.gov website and, research again, like, okay, well, what did they mean by EFC? What is my SAR? Students can stop by and talk to us directly. So please don't hesitate to ask questions because it's a lot of information. One of the biggest pieces in relation to like what Angela said of like, everybody should do this because you never know when your circumstances are going to change, is that you also have to do your FAFSA to be eligible for state grants. And so there's, again, grants maybe at the institution that you're going to attend, there are federal grants, but then you have to submit a FAFSA to be eligible for both the Oregon Opportunity Grant and the Oregon Promise Grant. A lot of folks are familiar with the Oregon Promise in relation to it helping with the cost of community college. And so again, that is something that we encourage everybody to also apply for the Oregon Promise Grant. And that's one of the things that we'll be doing that with students in November when we do college application week. But you do have to have a 2.5 GPA at the end of your senior year to be eligible for that. But those are really great opportunities. And again, you want to keep that door open because you don't know when maybe your circumstances are going to change. And like I said, we'll be helping students with that in November. Again, a lot of information here. So, we are going to post it in the grade level Google Classroom. And then I believe under the parent link, Mr. Stanridge will help us with that. But other things to be aware of and just kind of reiterating that it's make sure that you're using a different email, make sure that you have what I would call an appropriate professional email, not as Ms. Stifler always uses the stud muffin example, like studmuffin@gmail.com. Well, that you want to have a separate one, not that one. Be looking once you do submit your FAFSA, they mentioned in the video, be sure to check your email and look for what is called your SAR or your student aid report and make sure it's accurate. Especially if you did kind of the data entry specifically, like you might end up with a decimal point where you meant to put a comma or something like that, and it can really make your information inaccurate. So looking at your student aid report and reviewing that for accuracy is super important. Even if you still haven't decided where you're applying, get your FAFSA in. We encourage everybody to, again, put LCC on it just as a starting place. I know there's, a lot of you have already been looking at colleges and getting your applications in order and getting those things in. And so obviously you want to include any of those schools that you hope to. And like I said, if you've got a dream school, make sure that you're putting that in there. If you haven't narrowed down your choices, again, we've mentioned a couple of ways that you can use the school sort activity through CIS, but it's definitely time to kind of start making some of those decisions and narrowing down where you think you want to apply. How many schools you apply to just kind of depends on your goals. Some folks know right away, like, no, I'm going to Lane, I'm going to do the dental hygiene program and that's what I want to do. Or others are like, I want to get out of Oregon and, go someplace different. So, definitely depends on what you're interested in. As I've said, we encourage everybody to apply to LCC, and that's another thing that we'll be doing during college application week, is helping seniors with that process. As far as, kind of where we started at, we mentioned like short-term goal in these next few days of getting your FSA ID set up, completing your FAFSA in October, and then you'll see our bullet point on this slide about having, next goal would be to be applying to all the schools that you're interested in by Thanksgiving break. At least getting those things started, like U of O, there's an essay that you have to write, so like getting your account set up, what kind of essays am I going to have to write? Are there no essays at all? getting going so that you can see the big picture on that. And then you will be getting, as they mentioned in the video, the EFC, your expected family contribution. That's all the federal government does. They get your FAFSA, they do the processing, and they make those determinations based on a formula that they have of what your parent or what your family should be expected to be able to contribute. And then they send that information out to the colleges that you listed on your application. So those schools that you're applying to, they're the ones that will get that information, look at what they have to offer, and then send you that award letter in March or April. So it's, again, when I talk about being patient, it's because it is a long process. There's a lot that will be happening between now and then. Once you get that information, that's another piece that Angela can help with, as far as, well, I applied to Western Oregon, I applied to LCC, I applied to Portland State, and I got these 3 different award letters. What's going to be the best situation for me? And helping you kind of, again, make sure that you're understanding, what is it that I'm committing to if I do take out a loan, those kinds of things. So it's a long process. So then it's kind of going back and using that time, once you submit your FAFSA, get your application submitted, then you should really be digging in deep and starting to get more information about scholarships and things along those lines, and getting your applications going for those. Again, next steps, we already mentioned kind of some of them. Checking for additional scholarships and grants at the specific schools that you plan to apply to. As an example, LCC has the LCC Foundation, and we have students that get, apply and get scholarships to LCC on a regular basis. So reaching out to the admissions office where you're going to apply to, and making sure you understand that what am I going to be eligible for kind of like automatically. So as an example, the University of Oregon has what they call the general scholarship application. And just by submitting your U of O application based on your GPA, they have the Summit Scholarship and they have the Apex Scholarship. And so just by applying and your GPA transcript information, they will make a determination if you're eligible for one of those. But then they have separate scholarships where you need to do more of the research and the connecting and seeing what's out there. And so again, some will be automatic, some you have to do the legwork. As an example, U of O has their School of Journalism has a separate application that seniors can apply to, and that has to be submitted by March 1st. And then, like I said, LCC Foundation. And so making sure that you're asking those questions, again, at any institution. So OSU, whether or not you're going out of state and you want to go to, Cornell or Syracuse or, University of Virginia, anything along those lines, contacting them and looking at what you might be eligible for. We've mentioned College Application Week. There'll be more information coming from us about that. But again, we'll be having all students apply to LCC, apply for the Oregon Promise Grant, and having those bases covered. And then other pieces around scholarship research, writing essays, things along those lines. The Office of Student Access and Completion, also known as OSAC, is basically Oregon's financial aid office. So they administer the 2 grants that we mentioned, but they also have a very large scholarship foundation. And again, that's another piece that we'll be talking with you guys about, offering the opportunity to get support for those applications. The nice thing about the OSAC application is that the LCC application is that they basically kind of mimic the OSAC application. So like any of the short essays that you have to do for OSAC are usable with the LCC Foundation, the activities chart and those kinds of things. So that's another really, really great resource that we want to encourage you guys to use. And then the last bit is just, make sure that you're paying attention to the things that we're posting up in the class of 2022 Google Classroom. And then asking that, I'm like, now is a good time to go ahead and think about like, who do I want to get letters of recommendation for? Who do I feel like, maybe knows me well, like I had them my freshman year and now I have them again my senior year, and they've kind of seen how I've grown and developed over the last few years, maybe connections that you have with people in the community. And so again, things start to happen fast. And maybe there's something that you see like, oh my gosh, I really want to apply for this application. And then it's like, oh, wait, I have to have 2 letters of recommendation. And so getting some of those things taken care of now, because I know a lot of you think that you're busy, and you are busy, but you're going to get busier. And so, be thinking about that. Who do you want to reach out to? Is there a teacher, a coach, an employer, church youth leader, any of those kinds of things that that you want to be looking at to keep the ball rolling for scholarships and funding. So I think that's what I would say is, like, if you have like specific questions that are a little bit more that you're wanting some more privacy, or regarding your personal situation, that's where we're going to say, please reach out to us. Again, our email addresses are there. You can definitely reach out to the UVO financial aid office, LCC's financial aid office. When you talk to any of those folks, they want to help anybody. It doesn't matter if you're going to go to their school or not. They want to help students get through those hoops and support students through those processes. So don't be afraid to reach out to those folks, even if you think you're going to go to school somewhere else. So I don't think Ms. Stifler can see the chat, so I don't know if folks do have questions. Let's see. The FAFSA site is down, I hear. The question is thought if you lived away from home for 2 years, then you are not considered dependent. And that, in other situations that could be the case, but when it comes for financial aid, that's not. I think there's the expectation that parents will be helping and supporting through those 4 years. So they've got some pretty specific questions in relation to this part. I mean, you might be considered independent in other ways, but at least for the financial aid process, you're still considered dependent. It says, let's see, are we left to... Okay, I don't know if Jason's still out there, but I think maybe reaching out to us. I'm not necessarily understanding the last part of your question. So please give us a call or send us an email, and that way we can hopefully better answer your question. Okay. All right, any other questions out there? Okay, so again, thanks for all of you for coming. I know it's a lot of information and we are talking really fast, or at least I was, but it's a big, like we said, we try to do the big picture overview of what the process is going to look like, and make sure that you have the resources that you need, and help you kind of get things rolling. So, okay, so question that just came in is, how much per year is the tuition at the U of O? I can't say that I can give you an exact amount, but I want to say probably like anywhere from 14 to 16,000 a year. And then, so that, you know, that's your like classes and that kind of thing. And then, you know, if you were going to live on campus, then housing gets expensive as well. I think, you know, to be in the dorms is like another $11,000. So, you know, potentially living at home can help you reduce your costs quite a bit. But again, we're going to say go for it, see what opportunities you get. The U of O, for example, has a program called Pathway Oregon that if you do qualify for some of those grants that we were mentioning, they will fill the gap of what's left. OSU has a similar program, and so does Portland State. And so, you know, again, we really, really want to encourage you guys to apply, submit your FAFSA, apply to the school that you're interested in, and see kind of what becomes available to you through the financial aid process. Did we get another question? Okay, so yes, confirming the $14,000 estimate on U of O. It could vary in relation to, you know, what your situation is and, you know, what classes you take. There's fees that go with classes. It's kind of, you know, one of those things that sneaks up on you is how much fees can be. So that's where it can vary your cost. So. All right, well, I think we're going to call it for the evening. And again, we really appreciate you guys tuning in and hope that you'll reach out if you guys have any questions. Everybody have a good night.